You say their name, or maybe you rustle a bag in the kitchen, or you make a sound they've never heard before. And they do it. That slow, deliberate tilt of the head. One ear up, eyes fixed on yours, like they are working something out. You've seen it 1,000 times. You've probably melted 1,000 times. But here's what almost no one ever asks. What is actually happening inside that mind, in that exact moment? Because it isn't just cute. It isn't random. And the real answer is going to change how you see your dog entirely. If you've looked this up before, you've probably found the standard answer. And it's not wrong. It's just incomplete. The most common explanation is about hearing. Dogs tilt their heads to better triangulate sound. By rotating the head, they shift the position of their ear canals relative to the sound source, helping them pinpoint exactly where a sound is coming from and how far away it is. That part is true. The second explanation you'll find is about vision. A dog's muzzle, depending on the breed, can actually block part of their lower visual field. When they tilt their head, they move that muzzle out of the line of sight, giving them a clearer view of your face, specifically the lower half. Your mouth, your expression. Also true. These are real mechanisms, well documented. But if you stop there, if you think the head tilt is just an acoustic adjustment or a sightline correction, you are missing the most interesting part of the story. Because what researchers have started to uncover in the last decade isn't just how dogs tilt their heads. It's when and why and what that tells us about the kind of minds dogs actually have. In 2021, a research team in Budapest, led by ethologist Dr. Andrea Sommese at the Family Dog Project, published a study that genuinely surprised the scientific community. They were studying a rare group of dogs, gifted word learners. These were dogs who had spontaneously learned the names of dozens, sometimes over 100, individual objects. Border collies, mostly, dogs with an unusual and documented ability to map specific words to specific things in the world. The researchers were tracking their behavior during a memory task. The owner would say the name of a toy, leave the room, and the dog had to retrieve the correct object from a group, sometimes after a delay of several minutes. And while watching the recordings, the team noticed something happening during a very specific moment. In the window between hearing the word and going to retrieve the toy, the gifted dogs tilted their heads, consistently, significantly more than average dogs given the same task. And here is the part that stopped researchers in their tracks. The head tilt wasn't triggered by just any sound. It wasn't triggered by noise or movement, or even an interesting tone of voice. It was triggered specifically by words the dog recognized as meaningful, words they knew carried real information, and it happened in the moment just before the dog had to act on that information. This is what behavioral neuroscientists call a cognitive load indicator. When a brain is working hard, when it's integrating multiple streams of information simultaneously, the body produces a physical response. In humans, we furrow our brows, we go still, we tilt our own heads. Actually, what you've done it without realizing. In dogs, they tilt their heads. The head tilt is the body's outward signal that the brain is doing something effortful, something deliberate. It is not a reflex. It is not an instinct firing automatically. It is the visible edge of a thinking process. But here is where it gets even more interesting. Dogs don't just process what you're saying. They process how you're saying it, the pitch, the rhythm, the emotional coloring of your voice. Researchers call this prosodic processing. And we now know that dogs have specialized neural pathways for it, pathways that, remarkably, show similar left brain and right brain lateralization to human language processing. A 2016 study by Attila Andics and colleagues at Eötvös Loránd University used fMRI scanning. Cinema bekontost po actual brain imaging on trained, awake dogs. okt, to show that dogs process the meaning of words in the left hemisphere and the emotional tone of words in the right hemisphere, just like we do. So when your dog hears you speak, they are not just detecting a sound pattern, they are parsing you, processing the content of your words in one hemisphere, processing the emotional texture of your voice in another. Oh, and integrating both into a single, real-time read of what you mean and how you feel. The head tilt is the moment of that integration. It is the physical signature of a mind doing something genuinely complex and doing it specifically about you. Now, let's talk about what this actually means, not just scientifically, but in the context of your relationship with your dog. Because there is a dimension to all of this that the research papers don't always say out loud. Dogs are not just processing your words. They are not merely localizing your sounds. They are paying exquisitely careful attention to you, to your face, your voice, your emotional state. In a way that very few animals on this planet are built to do. Dogs have co-evolved alongside humans for somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years. And during that time, they didn't just learn to tolerate us, or to work for us, or to stay close enough to benefit from our resources. They evolved at the level of neural architecture, at the level of genetics, to read us, to track our gaze, to follow our pointing finger when no other animal reliably can. To respond to our emotional cues in real time with a sensitivity that, honestly, we sometimes fail to offer in return. The head tilt is part of that system. When your dog tilts their head at you, they are not performing cuteness. They are not playing a trick they learned gets them treats. Though, yes, we tend to reward it enormously, and they are not unaware of that. They are doing something much more profound. They are trying to understand you. They are gathering every available signal, your words, your tone, your facial expression, the way you're standing, the cadence of your breathing, and working to build the most complete picture they can of what you mean, what you feel, and what is about to happen in their world. When your dog tilts their head, they are saying, "I am listening with everything I have." Think about that. The next time it happens, think about that. So, knowing all of this, does it change anything about how you interact with your dog? It should. Here's how. When your dog tilts their head, that is a window. That is a moment of peak attention and active cognitive engagement. If you're trying to communicate something important, a new word, a change in routine, even just a moment of genuine connection, lean into it. Make eye contact. Speak clearly and with intention. Your dog is there with you, fully. Don't rush through it. The head tilt often happens when a dog is working to resolve ambiguity. When something hasn't fully parsed, or two pieces of information don't quite line up yet. Give them a beat. Repeat yourself calmly. They are not ignoring you. They are processing. Vary your emotional tone. Because dogs are parsing prosody, not just vocabulary, the how of your voice is real information for them. A flat, affectless delivery is genuinely harder for your dog to interpret. Not because they aren't intelligent, but because they've evolved to read a richer signal than that. Talk to your dog like you mean it. The emotion in your voice isn't noise, it's data. And finally, pay attention to which specific words, sounds, or situations reliably produce the head tilt in your dog. Because that list is a map. It tells you what your dog has actually learned to find meaningful over the course of your life together. It tells you what concepts have moved from background noise into real significance in their mind. That list was built one interaction at a time by the two of you. It belongs to no other dog in the world. Here's the thing about living with a dog. We know the moments. We know the tilt. We know the way they appear from nowhere when we're having a bad day. We know the weight of them against our leg, the specific rhythm of their breathing when they finally settle. We know these things so well and so completely that they become wallpaper, background, just what dogs do. But every single one of those moments is the output of an extraordinary evolutionary story. So, of an animal that directed its intelligence not at speed, or strength, or survival in the wild, but at us. At closing the distance between two species that were never supposed to understand each other. And it worked. The next time your dog tilts their head at you, don't just smile. Look back. Because there is a mind in there, doing something remarkable, working to understand you, choosing, in that quiet moment, to try. Does your dog tilt their head? When does it happen? Is it your voice? A specific word? A sound you make? I want to know. Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and I promise your answer is more interesting than you think. If this video made you see your dog just a little differently, that is exactly what this channel is for. Hit subscribe, because we are only just getting started.